Shuttle Discovery's STS-119 crew arrives at NASA's Kennedy Space Center for final pre-launch test and talks to media. The 7-member crew of the next Space Shuttle mission arrived at NASA's Kennedy Space Center, Florida, on Monday, January 19th, where they spoke with media. The astronauts are at Kennedy to participate in a full launch dress rehearsal known as the Terminal Countdown Demonstration Test. The test provides an opportunity for the crew and ground teams to participate in various simulated countdown activities, including equipment familiarization and emergency egress training. Shuttle Discovery is targeted to launch on the STS-119 mission to the International Space Station on February 12th. The crew members are Commander Lee Archambault, pilot Tony Antonelli, and mission specialists Joe Akaba, Steve Swanson, Ricky Arnold, John Phillips, and Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Koichi Wakata. For more information, log on to www.nasa.gov/shuttle.
won't be like this. All right, thank you for joining us here at the Shuttle landing facility at NASA's Kennedy Space Center for the arrival of Space Shuttle Discovery's STS-119's astronauts. They're here for their terminal countdown demonstration test and related training. I'm going to turn the microphone over to Commander Archambault, and then we'll take questions from media who are gathered here. And tarmac is yours, sir.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for coming out today. Appreciate you spending some time with the 119 crew. And before we take any questions, just like to give a couple of minutes of introduction for each of the crew members. Our crew, the 119 crew, is assigned at the end of '07. We started training at the beginning of this year, and so we've been in training for almost a year. So we're very anxious to get going with the mission. We're happy to be here. You know, our primary payload is the S6 truss, and we're anxious to bring the final 2 power channels up to the space station. On this mission, we got 7 crew members. One of them is a shuttle rotating expedition crew member, Koichi Wakata, on the end. So before we take the questions, I'd like every crew member to spend just a couple of seconds there introducing himself and what he'll be doing on the mission. So I'll turn it over next to our pilot, Tony Antonelli.
Hey, good morning. I'm Tony Antonelli. I'll serve as the pilot for STS-119. The other missions are Space Shuttle, robotic arm, and suit up for the spacewalkers.
Good morning, Joe Akaba. I'll be serving as a Mission Specialist 1. I'll be on the flight deck for ascent and entry. I'll be working the shuttle robotic arm with Tony. I'm also part of the EVA team, and I'll be conducting 2 spacewalks.
Hello, I'm Steve Swanson, MS2 flight engineer for ascent and entry. I'm also the lead spacewalker. I'm doing 3 of the spacewalks and be the IV for another one.
Hi, good morning. I'm Ricky Arnold, MS3. I'm part of the EVA team, and we'll be going out the door 3 times and IV in the other one.
Good morning. I'm John Phillips, MS4. I'm the space station robot arm operator, loadmaster, and one of the computer specialists on board.
Good morning. My name is Koichi Wakata. I'm an MS5, and I'll be joining Expedition 18 as a flight engineer once we go to the space station. I'll be working with John on the Canadarm2, the station big arm, and also working on the Space Shuttle's robotic arm with Tony and Joe. Thank you.
Maybe you should just keep it. All the questions are going to be for you.
So that's basically who we are and what we'll be doing on the mission, and we can now open it up to y'all for any questions you'd like to ask any one of the crew members.
Hi, good morning. James Dane from Florida today. Welcome. I wondered if you could talk about the significance of completing the space station's power supply 10 years into its construction, and particularly those of you who may have visited it or seen it from an early stage in its construction.
Sure, the significance is great, in that it's the final complement of the power supply, as you say. It's the last 2 channels. We have 6 operating power channels on station right now, and we'll give it the last 2, and that's what it'll have the full complement of power to operate all the labs. The Columbus lab and the Japanese lab have been recently added, so to fully utilize those labs, we'll need all the power. So we're going to give it to them, and hopefully everything will be working just fine when we leave. And maybe I can turn it over to Koichi. Koichi, would you like to say a few words basically about the Japanese lab and the significance of the power, particularly as far as you're concerned?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Brew. It's wonderful to work on this power platform installation S6, and we are now going to the 6th crew member stage of the International Space Station later this year. And with a fully installed S6, and we will be able to provide enough power to utilize the space station for the experiments. And I think it's wonderful to have good resources from power standpoint, also increasing the number of people to conduct the various experiments on the International Space Station. And also I was lucky to be able to provide my support on the launch of the Z1 thrust, the first thrust segment, and I'm working with the wonderful crew with the S6 installation, and I'm just lucky to be here.
My name is Kazunori Obuchi from Fuji TV. I'd like to ask 2 questions to Wakata-san in Japanese. So, thank you. 若田さん、どうも、こんにちは。お疲れ様です。はい、今まさにケネディ宇宙センターに、最終訓練を臨むために、到着されました。まずこの地を踏んで、今のお気持ちを伺いたいというのが一つと、あと今も飛行機でいらしたんですけれども、飛行機空の旅でこれから宇宙の旅ということがありますが、前回ニューヨークでも、飛行機が不時着するというような事故もありました。常に厳しい状況、危険と隣り合わせという状況は常に意識されていると思いますが、今回3回目という、最終訓練になるかと思われるんですけれども、改めてその安全ということについての意識、何か今回気をつけること、そういう事項があればぜひ教えてください。以上です。
はい、打ち上げ間近に迫ってきまして、非常に訓練が順調に進んでいるなと。で一つ一つの課題をここまでこなしてきましたので、この体調を整えて、打ち上げに臨みたいと、思ってます。一緒に飛ぶクルーと、長い間訓練してきましたし、その安全のことに関してはやはり非常に大切なのは、いろんな事態を想定した訓練をしてますけれども、やはりそのチームワーク、コミュニケーションというのが非常に重要だと思ってますし、我々この STS-119 のクルー、宇宙ステーションのクルーと一緒に、長い間そのコミュニケーションをしっかり取れるような訓練をしてきましたので、これまでの訓練を生かして、しっかりチームワークを保って、作業していけば、難しい作業を確実に安全にこなせるんじゃないかなというふうに思ってます。The question was how I feel at this time towards the launch, and I feel very ready, and it's been a while we're in training, and I'm very happy to work with a wonderful crew, and we feel very great, and I'm ready. I feel very ready. And also he asked about the safety of the flight, and I mentioned to them it's the key thing is that we have a very good communication and a teamwork. We have gone through so many training sessions to make sure that the flight is safe, but I think we have established very good communication and teamwork, and we're very glad to work for that. Thank you.
はい、よろしくお願いします。過去2回と比べて今回の心境の違いというのはありますか？それと、長期滞在でお仕事、ミッション以外で特に楽しみにされているということを一つお願いします。
はい、3回目になりますで、今回やはり一番違うのはその宇宙ステーションに長期滞在するということでありまして、3ヶ月半にわたって滞在する中でやはりそれはマラソンのようなフライトなんじゃないかなというふうに思います。シャトルの時というのは非常に短いフライトで本当に分刻みの忙しい仕事が毎日待ってましたけども、宇宙ステーションの長期滞在になるときはやはりその体調をしっかり整えて3ヶ月半、過ごす必要があるのかなというところです。2つ目のご質問は何でしたっけ？ミッション以外で楽しむ。ミッション以外で楽しめるというのは、休日が日曜日は取れると思いますので、そのゆっくり宇宙から地球を眺めるという時間、これが今回、今までにはあまりゆっくりする時間が取れなかったので、そこを非常に楽しみにしています。
今回日本食を持っていかれるということですが、一番何を楽しみにしてますか？一番最初に食べるものは何ですか？
そうですね、やはり白ご飯と味噌汁、いただきたいなというふうに思ってます。それは本当に精神的にも長い間宇宙に行くときに励みになるんじゃないかなというふうに思います。日本食を持っていくのはですね。He asked a lot of questions, but I'm very anxious to eat the Japanese miso soup and the rice to stay on board. And this time also on a Sunday, I'm looking forward to viewing the Earth because shuttle flights are very, very busy. So this time I should be able to have a little time to see Earth. Thank you.
NHK の筒井と申します。中継番組の方もぜひよろしくお願いいたします。はい、それで質問なんですけれども、宇宙からですね、地球環境について、若田さんの目で見てどんなことを伝えたいでしょうか。
そうですね、やはり宇宙から見る地球、海の様子も本当に薄い青色から濃いね藍色にさまざまな美しい青を持ってて、その宇宙から見る地球、その地球を見てるとやはりその我々のかけがえのないふるさと、これを守っていく必要があるなということをつくづく過去のフライトでも感じました。今回はその季節が変わっていく中で地球の季節が変わっていくところをね宇宙から眺めることもできるんじゃないかなと思いますけれども、やはり我々が宇宙へと、活動領域を広げていくとともにやはりかけがえのないフライト地球を守っていくということ、これをやはりその思いを宇宙に行くと新たにしました。で今回もまたその思いを強くするんじゃないかなというふうに思います。
今回ですね、ISS で、具体的に何か達成したいことってありますか。
何に関して、地球環境に関してですか。
全般に関してですね。
そうですね、やはり国際宇宙ステーション、日本の希望が宇宙ステーションの方へ組み上がりまして、で今回私のフライトの最後で希望の組み立てを完了させることになりますので、そこをしっかりとやりたいと。そしてその宇宙ステーションというのは素晴らしい実験施設でありますので、それを最大限に利用できるように、日本人として頑張っていきたいなというふうに思ってます。
ありがとうございました。
I told them that I would like to devote myself in the utilization of the space station. We're assembling the S6, and also at the end of my flight, the keyboard module's last pieces will be assembled. So it's going to be a long, like a marathon type flight, but I'll do my best to work on this, and I'm very much looking forward to contributing to the utilization of the space station.
Thanks, guys. Bill Horowitz, CBS News. For any of you, but probably the commander, tomorrow's the inauguration. Obviously, I was wondering if your schedule will permit you to at least listen to the speech or any of that, or if you're too busy. And B, your flight really kicks off a pretty critical period for NASA where a lot of big decisions have to be made. If you had a chance to sit down with the president-elect to tell him a little bit about what NASA's up to, what would you tell him?
Well, to answer your first question, I don't think our schedule is going to permit us, at least during the day, to watch the inauguration. I might be wrong, but it looks like we have a pretty full schedule. And to answer your second question, I would like to at least encourage them to keep the course that we're going on. You know, we're on a pretty nice course right now. We know we're going to develop a new vehicle. We got the Constellation program well underway, and we're anxious to fly this in 2014 or 2015. Hopefully, we can stay on track with that. But the long-term goal of getting back to the moon and then ultimately beyond and into Mars, I think, is really the future of the program. So we'd love very much for them to stay the course and press on with the Constellation program.
Hi, good morning. Sandra Frederick with the Daytona Beach News Journal. I guess this is for Commander, whoever wants to answer. Like teams before game day, have you poured over some of the videos for the PS Truss installation to get some insight? And what challenges do you see facing up there?
Sure. Let me actually, I think a better person to answer this would be John Phillips. John, who is our station robotic arm operator, also will be the ringleader for when we do deploy the solar array. So let me turn the mic over to him and let him answer some of that very question you asked.
Well, that's a good question. As you know, we're going to install and deploy the last of the trusses, and we've looked at a lot of video, some of which has been spacewalk video. For the things that the crews before us have learned. And fortunately, we've got a couple guys, Lee Archambault and Steve Swanson, who've done a very similar mission just a couple of years ago. But the EVA team has looked at a lot of video. And then we as a team have looked at a lot of the video and tried to assimilate all the lessons learned when we actually unfold these solar blankets. And for the most part, that's gone well, but there have been a few glitches on the way, as you've known. It's something we take seriously because these two solar array blankets that we're going to deploy have been in the box one for 5 years and one for 8 years. But we at NASA have we've learned a lot of lessons over the years, and I think we've got a good scheme in mind. So all 7 of us are going to be taking part in that, and we've all got a role to play, and we're very careful about what we do, and we have watched the videos of good deployments and bad deployments in the past, and we think we've got a good game plan.
Todd Halverson of Florida Today. I'm interested in one of your detailed test objectives, and I'm wondering if any of you can explain boundary layer transition to the average Joe and give us an idea of the significance of that particular experiment.
The boundary layer transition experiment is what they're going to do is they're going to put what they've already done. We've got a one tile been installed on the belly of the vehicle. It's got a small 1/4-inch protuberance, and it's and beyond that we've got several highly instrumented tiles. And the idea is that we're going to purposely trip the boundary layer early on in the entry, earlier than it normally would, and with those highly instrumented tiles behind it to be able to record the sufficient data so that the aerodynamicists can make a better, they can have some actually empirical data to go along with their research. And this is the only vehicle that we can really do it, that we can get that supersonic boundary layer analysis on. So the shuttle is, even though we've flown it for 20-some years, it's only been on roughly 130 flights and still a test bed. So we're going to use it for testing, and that's what we're looking at with the boundary layer.
For Joe, if I may follow up with a question from our discussion a couple of weeks ago that really has nothing to do with your mission. It's been nagging at me, though. I wondered if you ever found that spider that escaped from your bottled biology lab. And also, we just learned that you came in early and might have been visiting family here. Wondered if you have family in the area or friends.
Yeah, for those who don't know the story, someone asked about first-year teachers and how that works out. I thought I'd be a real hands-on teacher, so I had students create this bottled biology where they'd bring in plants or fish, and one student brought in a big old tarantula. And of course, on a 3-day weekend, came in to check on the experiments and found out the tarantula was gone. Brand new building, didn't know where it was, went out and bought traps. And as a first-year teacher, it wasn't a whole lot of fun calling the principal on a 3-day weekend saying there's a tarantula loose in the building. Luckily, on that Monday or the Tuesday, a student was going to the restroom and they saw the tarantula walking down the hallway, so it was recovered. And yeah, I came in a little bit early to visit my kids, Lee and Ethan, that live out here in Florida, so I had some time to spend with them.
All right, we got a couple more minutes for questions. Anybody else have any follow-ups? Florida Today, one more. All right.
Todd Halverson of Florida Today again. I was just wondering if our two educator astronauts might talk about the transition between teaching in school and now becoming space station construction workers. It's kind of an interesting path. I'm wondering if you can just tell us about how you got from point A to point B.
I think we're still scratching our heads over that one every now and then as well. It's a good question. It was an interesting time when we were brought on, but we had a really good training program that we were part of, starting with being sent to Pensacola to learn how to fly jets with the Navy training. And through that time, I think Joe and I both came to realize that this job involves a lot of thinking on your feet and quick replanning. And I think to be an effective teacher, you have to be able to do all of those things. And so while the technical knowledge we've had to learn has been substantial and it's been a lot of fun, I think we both came in with kind of the skills needed from working and thinking on our feet in the classroom. You want to add anything, Jim? Okay. I know about great.
Hi, Bill Harwood. One more question for either John Phillips or maybe Mr. Wakata. You guys are carrying up a new distillation assembly, and I know Mr. Suffredini told us last week that he was good with going to 6-person crew, even if you don't have the full test regime completed by then. Have you guys heard whether the Russians will go along with that? Are you confident that you can go to 6 people, given what will at least be an abbreviated test schedule on the urine processing assembly, or not? Or do you know what I'm talking about?
Bill, we know the basic issue, but I haven't done the math to know about the impact of the urine processing assembly for a 6-person crew. I know we need it in the long run, and I'm not sure what the math that our space station program has done, whether that supports 6-person crew without it in the short run. For us, it's a payload. We're going to carry it up there. We're going to deliver it to the station, and then Wakata-san and his station crewmates will install it probably after we leave, I imagine.
Okay. Thanks.
Is there any more questions?
I think that's take a last question, if you wouldn't mind. It's such a pretty day out here. If you could take a second and take a quick photo opportunity.
Sure,
And
yeah.
the gentleman with the sunglasses on, if you wouldn't mind afterwards, taking your sunglasses off.
Before we do that, I'd just like to make certainly take this opportunity to recognize the people at the Kennedy Space Center. You know, for the crew, we do all our training, excuse me, as you know, down in Houston at the Johnson Space Center. We get out here very, excuse me, very seldom for official training. And this is really the culmination of our training, when we get a chance to come out here for a couple days, spend a couple days on the pad, actually go through a launch count, and right up to basically to 6 seconds prior to the simulated time of liftoff, and then do a pad abort. So this is a very valuable training. It's the only time we get to have this training, and it's a great time to recognize the thousands of people here at the Kennedy Space Center who do so much for our space program. We appreciate it. We did a nice pad flyby on our way in. It's beautiful to see Discovery out there on the pad, and we know it's a result of thousands and thousands of many thousands of man hours. So it's great to have the opportunity to thank the folks down here in Florida who do so much for our program. And at this point, if there's no other questions, I guess we can line up for the photo op.